When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Oh, man, how good does this sound? Sports Take Special, Road to Glendale. That is a beautiful,
Say that again. Say it again. Say it again.
Sports Take Special, Derek Gunn, Road to Glendale. Put an exclamation point on that bad boy right now. What's up, D Gunn? I am Rob Ellis. We're hanging out with you on this Monday evening. We're not used to this. The night side, D Gunn. Quiet storm, Derek Gunn.
Yeah. You know, Rob, this is when I get mellow. This is when I'm at my calmest point in the evening. I was outside grilling. I was in my zone. And the grandkids, all my grandkids are here. So I was just chilling, Rob.
I love
and
it.
Now I'm transforming that chill to this chill.
Nice.
And my job this entire week up until Friday. After Friday, I have no control over you. But up until Friday is to keep you in that decon quiet storm mode. I don't know if it's possible. I don't think it is.
I think you might be unsuccessful with that bad boy. I don't know. But what's up, everybody? We see you, Brawlster B. What's going on, everybody?
What's up, Brawlster?
You know what I was thinking about, Gunner? Right before we came on. So I'm hearkening back to who the Eagles had to slay in Super Bowl 52. And you were right there. You were there in Minneapolis.
Right.
But think about this. So you knock off Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. I think arguably, it's not much of an argument, considered the GOAT of coaching and the GOAT of quarterbacks, right? Now, and by the way, with all kinds of history, they knocked the Eagles off Super Bowl 39, et cetera, right? Spygate, all kinds of history. This time around, you get Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, two lock Hall of Famers.
Yep.
As time goes on, might get closer to the conversation of either of those two guys with Belichick and Brady, right? Certainly Mahomes, I think, has a shot to be in conversations at least. And this time you got to slay them with the history that Andy Reid has, having been here for 14 years, laid the groundwork for a lot of the philosophies that this Eagles team has. And there are still players here playing that he drafted. I mean, that is crazy in your consecutive Super Bowl trips that you have all of that, on top of, if it wasn't big enough, you were playing in a Super Bowl.
I always get jacked for a Super Bowl, no matter who's playing, because as I tell you guys, it's the last meaningful game of a season. And you want to soak in everything from the pre-kickoff conversation with the media, you're the reporters on the field giving last updates, to the commercials. You're always going to get these commercials that are debated after the Super Bowl. The game itself, because the game always unfolds in a manner in which there are so many elements to a game you don't expect in a game, no matter how much we analyze it leading up to the game. But then it becomes more personal when it's a team that you cover. And as much as I'm excited about watching the established 27-year-old Patrick Mahomes against the young up-and-coming gun 24-year-old Jalen Hurts, I am more intrigued, Rob, by the storylines in this game.
Yep.
You just mentioned some of them. The history of Andy Reid here for 14 years. facing his former team. Two quarterbacks who one has already made a name for himself. One is quickly making a name for himself across the nation. The historical factor of this being the first time two African-American quarterbacks will ever face off in a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Can Nick Sirianni duplicate what Doug Peterson did and win a Super Bowl in his second year in Philadelphia? The storylines are incredible. Kelsey versus Kelsey. Right. That storyline is going to be played up.
We got to get Mama Kelsey to do the coin toss, Gunner. We got to make it happen.
No, we were talking about that on our show, Sports Take. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get to add this to it, but I thought about it after the show. Not just get Mama Kelsey to do the coin toss, but she's got to stroll out there in a jersey that's half KC, half Philadelphia.
100%.
See, that's the exclamation point on mom dividing her loyalty between her two sons that she loves dearly. Oh, by the way, her two very wealthy sons, I might add, as well.
Yes, you are correct, sir. Both Hall of Famers, by the way,
no
as well.
Question.
Let me ask you this, though. You mentioned the quarterbacks. So we know where things are headed for Mahomes, and we know he has the utmost respect among his peers, among the league, among all the pundits and all that.
Right.
We know there's still not that same level across the board of respect for Jalen Hurts. We know what he did this year.
Right.
Eagles fans, other people appreciate what he's done. But we also know that there's doubters. There are still doubters. If he wins this Super Bowl and plays well, if his team wins this Super Bowl and he plays well in the game, I'm not even saying he has to be the MVP, but goes out there and plays well.
Right.
Does that put it all to bed, all the doubt? Will it take this game and will that be it? Or do you think even going forward, if he plays well, there's still doubts?
I think to directly answer your question, it should. If he goes out there and plays lights out, if he passes for 280 yards, runs for another 70, is accounting for at least 4 touchdowns in the game, doesn't turn the ball over, makes all the throws he needs to make, completes a high percentage of his throws, that should silence all the doubters, bar none. But Rob, I've asked you this. I've asked other Philadelphians this in the media, friends of mine, people I respect. None of you have ever been able to give me a definitive answer. You've all given me great theories as to why this is the case. But I do not believe that he will still get his just due. And I do believe that the Philadelphia team, even though they will be the ones hoisting that Lombardi trophy in 2023, you still will have the national pundits will say they won, but. Yeah. See, so they're never going to get their just due. If you think about it, that 17 team didn't really get its just due. It was a shocker for the moment that they upset the evil empire. But then once Jeffrey Lurie came out with it's the new standard in Philadelphia and things started to bottom out, man, the Wolves came out of the woodwork jumping on that left and right about, oh, this is your new standard. They didn't take into consideration that 2018 and 19, this team was inundated with injuries on both sides of the football. That wasn't good enough.
No, listen, Gunner, you're not wrong, man. And what's up, Irvin? We appreciate you hopping aboard, man. And as you mentioned, Burlston B, what's going on? And everybody hanging out with us. We do appreciate it. And we're going to be giving you this kind of crazy coverage the entire week, man. We are going to be blowing it out. That's for sure. I tell you, I guess I could ask you the same question about Nick Sirianni. I mean, I know he's only in his second year as a coach, but you think about when they were 2-5 in the 2021 season, to where they are right now, it's been a remarkable turnaround for this team. Okay. And he sits here on the precipice of winning a Super Bowl as well. And there are people that don't like the way he goes about things. He's boisterous. He's going to react on this. He's not the old school, coach that isn't going to, Andy is. Andy doesn't react all that much. Belichick kind of just grunts his way through it. Sirianni's an emotional guy and he has fun and it'll dab up his guys and high five them and jump on them. That turns a lot of people off. Is it the same boat as Hurts here? He can win this thing and there's still going to be the people that say, please, it's Harry High School nonsense. Well,
it's already the case. I mean, what did Julian Love of the Giants say?
Anybody can coach that team.
Anybody could coach this team.
Yeah.
What were the 49ers saying? Would have been a different game if we'd have had our quarterback, our young quarterback. It's not that, hey, they beat us. They didn't take into consideration that you busted them up. You knocked not one but two quarterbacks out of that 49ers game. See, it can't just be an olive branch extended to the Philadelphia team. It has to be that olive branch and they rip off a leaf before they give it to you. So, the bottom line, Rob, is no matter what the outside looking in says about Nick Sirianni, the players don't care because they gravitate towards him. Whatever his approach is to coaching this team, we've seen this for 2 seasons. They will play for him from start to finish. And that's all that matters. We can now, when I say we, I mean people on the outside looking in who are not Eagles fans, who don't cover the team, or those who watch from afar that cover football that are considered national experts. You can say what you want on the surface, but the results speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. You had a team that was sinking his first year. He turned that team around. Oh, yeah, but they played a weak schedule. Well, so did every other teams. Same thing this year. Look at the schedule they faced. They didn't play anybody. How would we have ripped this team up had they gone out there and lost games? Okay, they played a multitude of inferior quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks. What would we be sitting here saying if they had lost to those teams?
Well, here's no, you're right. First of all, I absolutely concur. What's up, everybody? Appreciate Danny D. What's up, Robert? What's up, John Dickerson, our guy? What's up, Anthony James? How you guys all doing?
You knew John Dickerson had to get in here somehow.
Appreciate everybody hanging out with us, man. It's awesome. The real look, I get that people are always going to do the schedule thing, right? But what really bothers me is now the 49ers game, and some people, I don't want to do a whole thing on how the Eagles are disrespected, but this is the last thing I'll say. The 49ers game has now turned into that. That team won 12 straight games going into the Eagles game. And the Eagles knocked out their quarterback. He didn't just slip on a banana peel. They knocked him out. So that's part of football, man. So I don't want to hear,
it is what it is.
Hey, what do you expect? It was 3rd string, 4th string quarterback. Okay, well, the Eagles knocked their guy out. That's the way it goes. You know, there's no excuses. Do you think people would have been saying the same thing had Jalen Hurts been knocked out and Gardner Minshew went in there and stunk up the joint and San Fran won? Absolutely not, right? They would have said, look at that ferocious defense, the 49ers. Same thing with the Eagles, man.
Did they get that when Minshew was a quarterback against Dallas, against New Orleans? No.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
So you know what? One good feat deserves another. Okay. It is what it is. This is the deepest roster in the National Football League. It is the most versatile roster in the National Football League, and it has weathered the storms. It won when it had. It's a roster that won when it had to and didn't lose many games. It dominated 2 opponents in the playoffs, and here they stand, one more win away from that Lombardi Trophy. It is an incredible story, but you have to go back and start with the man who assembled this team, and we talk about this all the time. It starts with Howie Roseman, and then the coaches had to implement the structure. The players had to execute the plan. Everything has fallen in place, man. It's the perfect storm for this. 2022 has been the perfect storm for this team and for this organization. I don't know if we'll ever see anything like this again. You're from here.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been here since 1997, and I've looked at the Andy Reid teams that won 5 consecutive championships. I look at that team that won it all in 2017, and none of those teams can compare in terms of being complete rosters on both sides of the football.
Yeah. And Derek, I'll tell you the one of the biggest distinctions, and I give tons of props to 2017 for their depth and how guys really stepped up. Big V, et cetera. This team goes in with all of their starters, all 22 essentially from the opening roster, if you include Devontae Maddox, which I do, starting in the game, in the Super Bowl. I mean, to make it to the finish line to this point, and I know you got, Lane is a little bit banged up and Jalen's a little, et cetera. That's crazy. That's the case.
It doesn't happen, Rob. At this stage of the season, you're always plugging and playing. Everybody loses soldiers along the way. It just happens. You look at the Chiefs, they come into this game, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not going to play in this game. He's just been activated off the roster. Okay, but you're not going to have Mecole Hardman. He's a prime weapon in their passing game. Okay. Everybody's limping at this point. And we're keeping our fingers crossed. We assume Avonte is going to be there, although he's back in that boot again. But we assume that's just a precautionary measure.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're right. All 22, at least all 22 were there for the playoffs. Okay.
Yeah.
To be this healthy at this particular point is unbelievable, because it doesn't happen in pro football. It just doesn't happen.
And this is, I think, we're also like props to Howie for the personnel.
Right.
Props to Howie, the medical team, the trainers, everybody for the way they've gone about this. And look, we all sat there, Derek, and it was one of our great talking points here leading up to game 1 against Detroit. And we're all saying, man, I don't know. Like, I don't know if this is the way to go. They're going to look really rusty, et cetera. it's paid off, right? It's worked out for them. And it's kind of new age in some ways. And, I know Barrett was very much like, dude, I'm old school, man. You need to hit. That's how you learn that, whatever, muscle memory. Well, it's worked so far. That's for sure. I think the way they measure this thing, Derek, is, hey, look, we may pay for it a little bit in that first game or two.
Right.
But ultimately, there's a lot of football to be played. There's 17 games. And we're hoping when it counts, we have our guys. You
go back to 2021, and we were pressing that issue and other platforms that we were on. And lo and behold, they come out of the gate, and they're nicked up. Is a significant reason why they started off 2-5. Now, granted, Jalen Hurts was in his first year, starting for this team. But they were nicked up. They lost Brandon Graham for the season with the ruptured Achilles. Right. They lost other significant players, so they had to rebuild themselves. And that's when they went to that running game. When they got to 2-5, that's when they hit the ground running and blew out Detroit. And from there, the running game was an integral reason why they even finished with the winning record and got to the playoffs against Tampa Bay. And they carried that over this year with a better clientele of personnel. And they go out on the field, they dare you to stop them. Nobody's been able to stop. Well, a couple of teams have slowed them down. But really, when they want to press you with their running game, nobody can stop them. Right. It's unbelievable. It's an adjustable league. You pro and con, ebbs and flows. They impose their will on you when they want to.
Yeah,
Not many teams can say that.
That's the go-to that you have. If all else fails, you can run the ball if you stay committed to it. We've seen them do it.
Yes.
We've seen them and I'm not comparing these teams to the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a different level, but they've been able to put teams away late in games, either just milking clock and running it down their throat.
Yes.
And or leading you to a really clutch drive. Like we were all caught up in the Phillies hysteria when they did that against Houston, or when they did it against the Colts, whatever. And that's the way that they've gone about this. That's what I love. I love the diversity of this offense. You can run it. You can hit A.J. Brown. You can hit Devontae Smith. You can hit Dallas Goedert. Jalen can do it himself with his legs. There are very few teams that can have all of those weapons, have all those buttons that you can push if you need to, or whatever you want to dial up. It's all there. And then go to the other side. You can rush the passer unlike any other team in football.
Right.
You have the ability, if you want to, leave Bradbury and Slay on an island, and they can handle their business out there. And, I don't know that I think the Eagles may take that approach and just figure out ways to sort of bracket and double up Kelsey, which I think they may end up doing. I mean, there's a lot of different ways they can hurt you. But look, make no mistake, this is a big step up in weight class, man, from anything they faced with this Kansas City team.
And Kansas City is not as strong defensively as 49ers were. But Kansas City is probably, I call them the Harry Houdinis of football, because you don't know what illusion they're going to try to throw at you. Now, they have basically told you over the last few years, they can line up in the same formation, 10 straight plays, and run 10 different aspects of it in 4 or 5 different directions, and you don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, we've talked about this on a show a number of times, Travis Kelce openly admit that sometimes they're drawing up plays in the huddle or the sideline. Variation of plays that are designed to do certain things, they're drawing up variations of it on the sideline. You have to have 11 people in sync to make something like that work.
Yeah.
And they do it better than anybody else. Now, we can sit here and say, based on superior talent, the Eagles should basically do to the Chiefs what they've done to the 49ers and the Giants. I don't see it that way. I will say from now until kickoff, I believe the Eagles are going to win this game based on overall superior talent. But there's a reason why Andy Reid has never had a losing season in Kansas City. Yeah. There's a reason why the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl for the 3rd time in the last 4 years. They weren't even supposed to be close to a Super Bowl this season. They openly admit, and there's a great story on ESPN.com where they chronicle how this was supposed to be a rebuilding year for them. They have 6 draft picks that have been significant contributors. They have a number of first and second year players playing on both sides of the ball. That they've got 4 guys on the back end of the defense that are rookies that have been contributors to the back end of the pass defense. And yet here they are with a record equal to the Eagles. They led the league still in passing. That quarterback threw for over 5,200 yards, 41 touchdowns, and their defense is one of the top 11 defenses in the league.
Yeah, so it's remarkable.
You can say what we want to say, superior talent, yes. But you got to play the game. Just like the Eagles have navigated the waters this season, this rebuilding team has found a way to navigate the waters to win 16 games.
And that's where certainly Andy, but I give, again, with the Eagle ties here, Brett Veach, who is their guy. He's their GM. He's their Howie Roseman. Okay. I give him unbelievable credit for what he's done there. And you're right. When you lose a guy like Tyreek Hill, who's the ultimate home run hitter, when you lose something like that and still you throw for 5,000 yards, 41 touchdowns, and you're leading the league in scoring, and the Eagles are right by them. They're like a point less, but nonetheless, that tells you all you need to know about it. Mahomes, about Andy Reid's ability to adjust his offense to cater it. I mean, let's face it, Derek, their receiving core is okay. It's okay. It's not terrible. It's okay.
Exactly.
But it's not, there's not all pros there. There's not studs there. And granted, he's got Kelsey, but he's made them, whatever it takes, they figure out a way. And that's the thing with him, Mahomes. He's never dead. He's never done.
No.
We've seen it against Buffalo in playoff games. We saw it last week against Cincinnati on one leg. It doesn't matter with this guy. Unless the Eagles are up like 4 touchdowns with 2 minutes to go, there is not going to be a lot of comfortable moments, Derek, until that final buzzer goes off.
He's like Freddy Krueger and Jason rolled into one. Just when you think you've buried them, he rises from the ashes and he does something that we sit there going, oh my goodness. And it's something that we talk about the next day across the nation. Did you see that sidewinder throw he made? Did you see how he did a 360 spin to buy time? And just when you think they got him, he uncorks one to a guy wide open down the field. Did you see the underhanded pass he threw down the side, tightrope down the sideline for completion for a first down? Did you see him flip it over his hand for completion? He is the most unconventional quarterback you ever see. He's not your straight drop back passer. He's not a scrambler. He doesn't scramble to run. He scrambles to buy time. Okay. Mm-hmm. He's not your conventional pocket passer. He's got great arm strength. He's got great awareness. This is his offense. Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy designed this offense for him.
Yeah.
Whatever they saw in him when they made that move to get him in the draft, when they picked him up.
What was he, 10th? I think
10th
they moved
overall.
up to grab him 10th. Yeah. Yep.
They identified real quick that not only can we have success with this guy, but if we cater our offense to him, we can put him on another plateau. Lo and behold, this kid's sitting here 27 years, young man, sitting here 27 years old. He's already won a league MVP, and he's now in his 3rd Super Bowl at the tender age of 27.
It's crazy.
This may sound far-fetched, Rob. Now, we know Andy Reid's in his mid to late 60s. We don't know how much longer he's going to coach.
Yeah.
But this team could go on a run, and I'm not saying winning Super Bowls, but can go on a significant run similar to what New England did. I'm not saying
they're not particularly old, Derek.
No, they're not.
City, no, I mean, if you look at it,
no, they're not.
Most spots they're either kind of whatever football middle-aged or they're on the younger side of it. I mean, Mahomes has got a solid 10 years if there aren't any kind of major injuries. We've seen it. We know these guys can play into their late 30s. There's no question about it. Yeah. And the other thing I really like about the way Andy has and the offense and Bieniemy and whoever's been, the quarterbacks coaches there. You're right. They cater it to him, but they also they don't try to stifle him. There's no like, hey man, easy on the no looks or easy on the unconventional stuff. It's like, this is what makes this guy great. And yeah, there's going to be mistakes every once in a while, but there's way more good than bad. So I'm going to let him do his thing. And they don't try and, overarch this guy too much.
This Eagles defense, the pressure they put on him or should put on him, you have to test that ankle early and often.
Yeah.
Now, we saw him on one leg find a way to beat Kansas City. Granted, he was aided by an unnecessary roughness penalty, but he was moving the team within striking distance. He made the necessary throws. How many times did we talk about he made that touchdown throw on one leg? He stepped up in the pocket and made it and threw a dart on one leg for a touchdown. He can do any and everything. Now, he's not faced a ferocious rush like he's about to face.
Correct. Yep.
They need to test that ankle early and often just to see what he can or can't do. Or if he is the Patrick Mahomes of old, then they're really going to have to get after him to make him speed up his mind clock and to throw the ball sooner or get rid of the ball a lot sooner than he wants to. Because if you let him get in a rhythm, that's where he's his most dangerous.
Yeah. And since he was able to get him 3 times, but for me, the key to, and I've been preaching this last week and I did it today on Sports Take, and I'll keep doing it on Sports Take all week. You got to get him to the ground. You can't just flush him out. What happens when he gets flushed. He's brilliant. He's probably at his best. I think he thrives in that more than he does just standing there in the pocket. And you even saw it on the one to Valdez. I think it was Valdez Scantling, that whatever the last touchdown pass he threw, He steps up. He's got two guys converging on him.
Yeah.
And he still delivers a seed that just gets past the defensive back who comes over a hair late, just a second late. But like, it's the kind of play that healthy guys can't make, let alone a guy on one leg like he was.
And that's what I'm so intrigued with, Rob Company, with this game, the unpredictability from both teams for that matter. You know, we talk about we talk about how the Eagles should establish the run. You can run on Kansas City just like you ran on the 49ers, just like you ran on the Giants. We don't know that. We've seen it happen in the past. They could come out throwing the football. Or we say, you know what, throw the football on this team. They come out and run the football. We don't know what Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen and his coaching staff are thinking right now. We have no idea what Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, and Spagnuolo are thinking of as well as they get ready for this game. That's what I love so much about, you know me. Mm-hmm. When I get to Fridays, I'm like, I'm done talking about this game, right? Whatever game it is, I'm done talking about it.
Yep.
I'll still be jacked up talking about this game come this Friday, because as we find out different reports that will come out of both camps between now and Friday, you know, we're going to find out more and more about this team, you know, who's up, who's down, things like that. I think this is the best matchup you could possibly have. You have the two best teams still standing in the National Football League. Both teams finished with 14-3 records. Both teams standing here at 16-3. One team has been down this road many times before. Another team that has been revamped since 2017 is trying to make its niche in the National Football League and garner its respect. You couldn't ask for a better collision course for a Super Bowl 57.
Man, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. Like, you know, we talk about it all the time, man. In sports, you want to see, yes, the underdog thing is great and it's cool. David, Goliath, that's all cool. But when you have the two alpha dogs, when you have the two big boys step to that middle of that ring, and it's just like, okay, here we go. You got the best rep from that side and the best rep from that side, and let's bring this thing together. That's the beauty of this. I'll tell you the one other thing too, Derek. What we don't know right now with the bye week, we know that both quarterbacks are going through something very different. One's with an ankle, one's with a shoulder. What capacity are these guys going to be at, right?
Yes.
Does that extra bye week get them real close to 100, or they're both really battling it? And it's really fascinating too, is because the Eagles have this pass rush, it could really impact the game if Mahomes is not himself, right? And then Jalen, who can do so many different things, either with his legs or his arm. But the thing with his legs is he may take shots on that shoulder, either falling on it or getting hit.
Yes.
So is he hesitant to maybe run it as much? I don't know, or take a guy on if he's in the middle of the field. I don't know. Until that game gets kicked off, we're not going to know.
Well, we saw that one series in the fourth quarter against the 49ers. Hurts ran the ball like 3 or 4 times on one drive. Mm-hmm. And the last time he ran the ball, he was going down and turns his back, and he got speared in the back, and you saw him get up wincing. Right. Now, I don't know if it was because the wind got knocked out of him or somebody got a good shot on that shoulder. And as he's talked about it leading up to this week, he said, I'm getting there. I'm not ready. Nick Sirianni a few weeks ago talked about how he had a similar injury, that AC joint, and he still has a knot in there. See, okay. So at the conclusion of the season, I think that's when the story is not going to come out until then. True. Hopefully Hurts doesn't have to have surgery on it. If he has to have surgery on it, and he's fought through this, the last regular season game to get the number 1 seed, 2 playoff games, and win the Super Bowl, that's a tough customer, dude. Yeah. That's an awfully tough customer.
Yeah, I mean, between that and what Lane Johnson's doing, you know, in the kind of pain that he has to be in, and we had him on Sports Take last week. We were discussing it with him. The kind of pain that he's in, and it's not just tolerating the pain; it's producing to at the same level that he always produces at. You know, one thing, you know, he's hurting and he can't really do what he wants to do, and he's giving up 3 sacks in a game. He's still playing at Lane Johnson level where he doesn't even give up a pressure. It's crazy, and he was dealing with Bosa, you know, a bunch of times in their last game. And look, Chris Jones is a handful. You know, whoever ends up getting that assignment, this is going to be a tough one with him.
Well, you know, Nick Bosa was a handful. What did he do in that game? Nothing. He was in a witness protection program. Lane Johnson, and I've said this time and time again, not just because, you know, he's a friend of mine and because I have so much admiration for him. There is nobody tougher mentally in the National Football League than Lane Johnson. The fact that he's playing still with a torn groin that he told us almost a month ago will need surgery. Will need, not possibly.
No, it's not. It's 100% he's getting the surgery.
Torn, and he's still playing, tells you about the mental makeup of this man. His competitive nature is second to none. He doesn't want to be on the sideline cheering his teammates on in a game of this magnitude. He wants to be out there with them. The only way Lane Johnson is not there is if he's dragged off the field during the course of the game because he just can't go anymore.
Yep. No, you're right on. And it's the sacrifice these guys make. Now, the nice thing about this game is you're not saving anything up for the following week. It's just let it all hang out, man. I mean, that's for sure. All right. We're going to get a quick one in here, Derek. We're going to be joined by our buddy, our Sports Take co-host, our brethren, your guy. It's all your fault that he's turned into the media monster that he is. The one and only.
I've unleashed a monster.
That's correct. You built Frankenstein. Yes. So when we come back, Barrett Brooks is going to join us. We'll continue to dive into this game. And like I said, we are going to be providing JAKIB Sports YouTube network is going to be providing just unbelievable coverage the entirety of the week up until Sunday. But we are Sports Take special Road to Glendale. Derek Gunn, Rob Ellis. We're right back.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Mess & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Mess & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Post-game show with Seth Joyner.
I knew that they had a running game.
Derek Gunn.
He has put in the effort.
Devin Caney.
Had we not won the Super Bowl, what would we be saying?
And Mike Missinelli.
Well, you know who Philly is.
Post-game, now streaming on the 6ABC family of apps.
Why do millions of people every year from around the world visit Philly's Rocky statue?
You want to tell me the sky is burgundy with green stripes and yellow polka dots? I'll meet you on that. But you're never going to convince me Rocky is anything other than the pure greatness that it is. Never going to happen.
Join me, Paul Farber, for WHYY's The Statue. We're going on a journey to explore the biography of the Rocky statue. Find us wherever you get your podcasts.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Val Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
Oh, yeah, baby. Sports Take special Road to Glendale. I didn't even give you a countdown. Oh my God.
I knew something was missing.
Something's off. I've lost it, Derek. All right, let me see. It is 144 hours.
What do you have, like a running clock or something? I
do.
mean, seriously, this is too accurate. You've been doing this all season long. So
think about it. Kickoff's at 6:30 at Eastern. It's what, 6:36? We're pretty close to 6 days on the nose right now, man.
Do you have a running clock somewhere in that little man cave of yours?
It's where it is?
No.
No, I'll tell you. It's behind the secret little pull out here, right here, Derek. It's in there.
If I ever see a body roll out of there,
you don't want to know what's in there, man.
Or some little short guy come rolling out. Hey, Rob, kept me in there too long. It's hot in there.
Hey, exactly.
I have nothing to do with it when the feds come to your house. I want nothing to do with this.
You know who's not in my crawl space? I can promise you that much.
Who's that?
It's Barrett Brooks. I can guarantee he
I can't get away from this guy.
He would not fit well in the crawl space. I can promise you that much, man. There he is.
You guys can't get rid of me. You know you guys love me too much.
Derek was saying, man, we're going to lose. We're going to ditch that guy. I said, no, it's not happening. Not happening. Not on my watch.
Now, Barry, I would never say that.
No, you would never say it, but you were thinking it, though.
I was thinking it. Yeah, I was thinking it.
All right, so here's the question, and we haven't gotten to this yet, Barrett. So please jump in on this as well, and I'll hit both of you guys with this.
Yeah.
Andy Reid's unbelievable in a coming off a bye. He's 28-4 in his career, okay? He's been great in that situation. But it's not always his strength to adjust on the fly. There are times where he'll kind of lose himself in the moment, whether that's clock management, whether that's, just forgetting about the run. We've all lived it and seen it. What's your anticipation of either one of those two sides of this thing going in? Barry, I'll start with you on that one.
Yeah, we understand that this is Super Bowl, so you got to be extraordinary on how you approach this game. You just can't go in thinking that, just because you have over 30 years of being a head coach or 20 or 30 years of being a head coach does not mean you're necessarily always going to be right in your game time adjustments. And he's shown the lack of awareness sometimes of understanding what's going on during game type situations. There's nobody prepares better than Andy Reid for a game. He'll have every trick play for you. He'll have everything. He'll have plays that, that he's researched, tendencies that will work perfectly against your defense, your offense, or whatever. But sometimes, game type situations, sometimes he's not aware of clock management. Sometimes he just doesn't, react as fast as he should in those type of circumstances. But this is the Super Bowl. We'll see.
Yeah.
The thing that has impressed me the most about Andy Reid through the years is that he has withstood the test of time. From the moment he took over as the Philadelphia Eagles, he asserted himself as an authoritative figure, yet players could always come to him and talk to him. And players play harder for you. That when you have a guy that you can talk to about your life, frustrations of the game, playing time, whatever the case may be, even if he doesn't give you an answer that's satisfactory to you, but you still go out knowing that he understands where you're coming from, you go out there and bust your behind for this dude, okay? You almost said the word balls. Okay, you bust balls. Okay, I'll say it.
We don't usually hear that from you. That's usually Barrett and I.
Super Bowl week, baby.
Okay.
But then he takes it to another city, and he's older now, and he still can relate to these players.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing about Andy is he has always been a guy who has surrounded himself with the right staff. The right staff that implements his modus operandi, his theories, his concepts. He's always surrounded himself with the right people. Look at his coaching tree that is spread out from Philadelphia. Look at his coaching tree in Kansas City. Very seldom do you hear about Andy Reid's coaches bickering with players, Andy Reid's coaches bickering among themselves. You don't hear that. You hear that among other teams.
Yeah.
Andy Reid is in his mid-60s, doesn't need the game anymore. He has his ring, has his money. You look at the emotional things he's gone through as a coach and as a man and as a father. He lost a son. Another son is behind bars. He's still there doing what he loved to do. It's not just a job, it's a passion for him. You can say that about a lot of coaches, but he takes a lot of pride in being able to help build and mold young men, in a lot of ways. Now, just like family, you have family concepts and beliefs, but sometimes some stray from the norm, and that's understandable.
Sure.
But for the most part, he's able to keep that nucleus focused for one cause, okay? And for a guy who started his head coaching career in 1999 and is still doing it in 2023 the same way, his way, with adapting along the way in terms of how you talk to certain players. You can't say enough about this dude, man. I mean, how many coaches do what he's done?
Yeah.
Nobody had what was the record?
Consecutively. Like, he didn't take a year off between the
No,
Eagles and the Chiefs.
no.
And that's the crazy thing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, other than Belichick with his run at New England, which isn't quite as long, but it's been a little bit more successful, obviously, in terms of Super Bowls. This is a crazy 99 till now. He's been doing this, without a break, Barrett. That's wild.
And that's because, it almost like, I hate to say this, man, but, look at Penn State and Paternal, once he retired, he passed away a couple of months after that.
Yep.
Some guys are just tied so much to being a coach, and that's all who they are. It takes every moral fiber in their body not to be a coach.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just bred to be a coach, man. That's why a lot of times, that's why I say I couldn't be a coach, because I don't know if I could be that dedicated to the game anymore like that. You know what I'm saying? I'll give my all. And once I give my all, it'd be hard for me to stop doing that. So that's why I didn't start doing that.
Right.
Because once I started doing it, it would be a 24/7 thing. And the reason why I retired in the first place was injury, but the reason why I didn't go back into football, because football has taken so much of my life's time, so much of my time away from loved ones, so much of my time away from me being who I am. So I knew it was time for me to leave let the game go. I'm so glad I went into this aspect of football, because it's more of an outlet. I can get in and out and not worry about it just overtaking me.
Sure.
But coaching, you want to be so involved.
Yeah.
You can't take a day off, because it's like you're letting, all 53 of the players down and all the coaches down and the organization down. You don't want to let those people down. So it's tough being a coach. Tough.
Think about how many coaches have walked away from this game because of burnout. Dick Vermeil, John Gruden, Tony Dungy, Brian Billick, great coaches, and burnout got them. Okay. Yep. They talked about how being away from their family and the grind from 6 a.m. to midnight every night, sleeping in your office. The stories are legendary about Andy Reid sleeping in his office. You have to have a special spouse willing to take control of being the mother and the father every day for like 8 months out of a year.
Yep.
That is not easy to do. Okay. But yet he's been able to withstand the test of times. And here he is. We're still talking about Andy Reid is still relevant in 2023.
Here's a question I have for you guys regarding Andy's team. They're pretty good against the run. They were 8th in the regular season. But you give about 107 on the ground, which is a good number, top 10. We know the Eagles are a very good running team when they decide that they're going to do it. And we also know the philosophy is generally get a lead through the passing game and then start running. Do you think we're going to see them run heavy, or is it going to be just kind of game dictated? What's your sense, Barrett, from a game plan standpoint?
You know what? To be honest, man, I just see all the inefficiencies in the passing game for this, for the Kansas City Chiefs and their defense, that it'd be hard if I was a coordinator not to take advantage of that pass. They're pretty good at this run, but it doesn't matter, because this team is great against running the ball anyways. But I really see that, a glaring difference, a glaring fault for their defensive backs trying to control and stop our wide receivers. I just think we're so much more better. Dallas Goedert's going to have a big day. AJ Brown's going to have a big day, because they can't stop it. They're going to run the ball, and they need to run the ball consistently, simply because you have to control the clock. And when you pass, you run the risk of not letting that clock keep rolling, because the more you have the ball, the less the ball is in Patrick Mahomes' hands.
Yep.
And that's how you stop a guy like Patrick Mahomes, keeping him away from the ball. So, if we get the ball first, we should not let them have the ball until maybe 4 minutes left in the first quarter.
That'd be nice. I take it. Trust me when I tell you that. Yeah.
You want that clock in their head to think that it's going so fast that, they got to score, they got to score, they got to score. And that's when you make mistakes.
Yeah. And that's what teams have done against the Eagles, just try to keep them off the field. All right. Now the other immovable force against the whatever object, the Eagles are a team that is very good against the pass. In fact, they were the number one team in football this past year defending the pass. They gave up less than 180 yards per game in the air, which is really good. This is Patrick Mahomes here, man. Like, something's got to give. when it comes to that. How much will it maybe show in this game that he doesn't have Tyreek Hill, that he's got some banged up wideouts? No Mecole Hardman. We know that. He's on the IR. That's official. Is this the game where it shows, or is he going to dink and dunk you to death like he did when they played in 2021 when the Eagles and Chiefs were both, very different teams?
You know what? I think that's what they're going to do.
Okay.
I mean, they have big play players like, not necessarily the wide receivers. I mean, Valdez Scanton's good. Juju Smith-Schuster's good, but they're not great. Our DBs can stop them. I have a lot of confidence that, our secondary will be able to stop them. But the receiver, the guys that can hurt you as far as getting the ball and run after the catch are Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon.
Mm-hmm.
Those two guys right there are great at what they do. And that's, being explosive after the catch. You know what I mean? They catch the wheel routes, screens, that's where they're going to be most dangerous. So they have to make sure that they, keep an eye on those guys. It's not just the receiver. They got to keep an eye on those guys because they're big take guys, especially Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah.
He's good run after the catch, and he plays like a receiver. He's a little bitty dude, but he plays like a receiver.
Yeah, he's tough.
I say the best way to completely mess up Casey's rhythm, and let's see if they can adjust, is that you have to have these two Pro Bowl corners come up and play press coverage most of the game. Because I do believe, because Andy Reid and their offensive staff have identified the ferocious nature of this pass rush, what's the best way to neutralize a pass rush? Quick strike, quick strike, quick strike.
Yep.
You cannot give the receivers 7 to 10 yard cushions like we've seen. You need to come up and bump them and knock them off their routes and make Patrick pat that ball at least one additional time to allow Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham to get around that edge, or Hargrave, Cox, Milton, Williams to find a seam in the picket fence to put pressure on them up the middle. I think that's the best way to defend this Kansas City offense. Don't let these receivers take 1, 2, 3 steps and then slant in. They'll kill you on that all day.
Yep.
Mahomes will get that ball out of his hands. You got to make him pat that ball. And Barrett, you went on, but I said you have to test that ankle early. Now, I'm assuming he's almost 100% because he's had an additional week to get ready for this. But we don't know. We what we see in practice, doesn't necessarily
that's
translate
an
to
optical
the game.
illusion sometimes.
Optical illusion.
Yeah, don't buy it.
You got to test that ankle early.
I'm going in assuming he's 100%. I just am, and I'm sure the Eagles are taking that same approach. But
right.
I don't go in saying, man, he's going to be limping around. I think first of all, he's had 2 more weeks to get ready. There's probably going to be some help, if you know what I'm saying.
No question
as well. And it's like, so what? He was still making plays left and right when it was way worse when he played Cincinnati 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Well, we can't fall for the banana in the tailpipe.
Exactly.
Period, man.
No.
We cannot fall for that, man. And that's what they're not looking at him as being nothing but 100% healthy.
Right.
They're game planning a healthy, full go Patrick Mahomes, because you're going to get that. They're going to game plan like that, and they're going to get that because they understand what this guy brings to the table. If you look at the team, you laid it out earlier, Rob, when you talked about how even they are when you look at numbers. When you look at numbers, the same amount of, yards, same amount of touchdowns, all that stuff, it's exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, same amount of touchdowns, the same amount of all, pros and all that type of stuff. But the major difference is in how it's weighed is, Patrick Mahomes' ability to get the ball out of his hands.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles have a more balanced attack than they do. Right. They're so top heavy with the pass because they have a great quarterback, and we know Big Red loves to pass the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can just lay a hit on him, start making him get up slower. If you can, shrink that pocket that he's in, and we shrink it, that means once the defensive ends gets to quarterback level, to start collapsing the pocket. Those guys up front, collapse the pocket in front of them, leave him inside the pocket, but construct it around him. That's when you start getting mistakes, because now that clock in his head starts to go off, and it's all about timing. This game is going to be all about timing as far as him being in the pocket, timing for him being on the field, timing as far as us being able to control the clock by our offense. Everything is about time with us winning this game.
I need you, Barrett, to put your helmet back on and your pads back on for a minute and get me through this week, because we see sometimes guys will it gets too much for them. They get overwhelmed, and there are times where the distractions get to them. How do you handle this week from a player's perspective? How do you stay focused with all the stuff, especially tonight? Because tonight's crazy. It's a circus tonight. How do you stay focused all week?
Well, today and tomorrow will be the last day that they'll be a part of that. When they start Wednesday, that's when they talk about being normal. You get normalcy as far as how they approach the game. They don't let the wives and stuff come in until like Friday, Thursday or Friday, when the wives will come in. The families come in Thursday or Friday because they have to be absolutely focused on the task at hand. And this is the business trip. They're going in to win a Super Bowl, and that's where you got to make sure that you're ready to roll. Big Red and Nick Sirianni will start separating the team right around, after Thursday evening. They'll let the players, get out, let their hair down tonight.
Which that's important too, right, Barrett? Like, don't bottle them up too much, man. Let them. Dick Vermeil always tell you that to this day in 1980, he blew it in New Orleans. He didn't let them go out and have fun, and he made them too tight. There is a fine line, right?
Yep. So you have to meet from Monday. Well, they got here Sunday. Sunday they got to be out and partake in the Super Bowl era, what's going around them. Monday night, tonight, they'll be able to go out Tuesday night. But Wednesday, you're locked in. Everything is about you winning the Super Bowl. You're locked in. You're getting back to normalcy of what you would do at a regular week. They've got to get back to that. And that's when you start, implementing, curfews and making sure you're getting up and you're doing this. You're going to get back into what you do to get ready for a game. If that takes you going in, you get in at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're going to take your ice bath, or you get in a hot whirlpool, or whatever you do, you start doing that this week. You know what I'm saying? You start doing it after Wednesday. You get back. If you watch film, you lift weights at a certain time, you get back to, being on time, getting that timing back to, you feel good about approaching the game. Because NFL players are creatures of habit. Yep. Everything they do the same thing over and over again. It becomes a second nature to you. When you get back into that pattern, that's what you do. And then, it's not a regular game, but you want to approach this like a regular game.
Mm-hmm. You have to let them blow off some steam, but you have to put limitations on players also. And, what they do is they tell guys, okay, here's what you do. Here's places you should not go. And luckily for the Eagles, they have a guy head of security who scares people straight. He will tell a player off in a minute. He don't care if you're the starter or if you're the 53rd man on the roster. That's just the way he is. Players respect him for that. They also know if they get into some hot water that he's going to get them out. This dude knows everybody in every city to take care of a lot of different things. The stories are incredible. But players can go out and put themselves in situations where you get some knucklehead drunk thinks he wants to challenge a professional football player to a street fight or a bar fight. Then all of a sudden that dude might get arrested, but you might get suspended for the biggest game of your life. You don't want to put yourself in that situation. There are a lot of places you can go, a lot of places you can visit without putting yourself in harm's way. Players like to go out to nightclubs sometime and hang out. That's the place you don't want to be. Mm-hmm. Especially when you got people coming in who are not fans of your team, betting heavy on the game. They want to talk trash. And as you know, I always say, those who drink heavily, it makes you do one or two things. It makes you a lot braver or makes you a lot dumber. And by brave, I mean you start jaw-jacking and saying stuff that you normally wouldn't say to somebody twice your size. And then all of a sudden you get a lot braver. You think you're like a Hulk and that you're going to swing away at somebody. Well, guess what? Your name's not in the papers. The guy who's playing in the game on Sunday who gets magnified across the country. Organization doesn't want that. They don't need that.
Nope.
So you put limitations on players. You hate to do that, but you have to because they're moving targets from the time they arrive until the time that game is over.
Well, that's a good point, Derek. I mean, you might have good intentions as, hey, I'm just go have a couple beers, whatever. We're going to chill, and some knucklehead wants to start something. You're right.
Yes.
I mean, you do have to. It's you don't control as much as you normally would.
Bro, you can't control anybody else. And once they get that liquid courage in them, and they'll do something stupid. Yeah. You just have to understand and maintain who you are as a person and be that way. It's the bottom line is that you're on a business trip. Yeah. You're trying to go out there and execute the offense the best way you can.
Yes. Yep.
So, I mean, defense, everything has to be done in accordance to who you are and what you are as a team.
All right, so let's let everybody know what we got. So coming up tomorrow, Sports Take, noon to 3 Eastern. Of course, that our entire lineup is just going to be crushing it all day long, and we're going to continue throughout the course of the week, giving you that extra programming with the Road to Glendale. Of course, this was our Sports Take special, Road to Glendale, but we're going to have all kinds of specials, reports from Arizona. Barrett, in fact, is heading out Wednesday, so we'll have Barrett with us on Sports Take and all over the place from Arizona on Thursday and Friday. So we're looking forward to that. We already have boots on the ground out there with our other folks as well. So it's going to be awesome. We're going to keep it rolling, man. We appreciate everybody giving us a little extra time and hopping on tonight with us and hanging out with us, our usual friends there in the chat section, everybody streaming, everybody watching. We do appreciate you. So
I can talk football with my guys all day.
Telling you, man. And let me real quick. Yeah, but me too, man. It's been absolutely awesome. But let me let everybody know what we have coming up. So, we keep it going from 7 to 8. We got football 24/7 with John McMullen. So don't go anywhere. J Mac's going to get you covered, and we'll be back with you guys tomorrow. Derek, good job, my man. Barrett, appreciate you hopping on, brother. Looking forward to hanging out with you guys tomorrow at noon for Sports Take. You've been watching Sports Take Special, Road to Glendale.
Take care, fellas.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.